Yo, what's up, guys? I wanted to make this video to kind of talk about multiclassing and potentially, what it's going to be. Is it going to be good, bad, and talk about a couple alternatives to multiclassing that I think personally I would prefer, and I've heard a lot of other people talking about them they would prefer, and also generally just kind of what we expecting outside of multiclassing. So, if you don't know, for a very long time, the training tab, all it said was like, it said like, I don't even know if it said talent tree, but basically it had like an image of a talent tree going down, like, you had like just your generic, like branching into perks at like levels and stuff, the same way you would in like any MMO or anything like that. And so for a long time, what everybody expected was to get a talent tree. No one expecting multiclassing at all, and no one thought that's what that would be. Uh, but, however, obviously, we are getting multiclassing, and they've even said it, and clearly it's here because it's a training tab. This is in place of what the talent tree would have been. And personally, regardless of how good multiclassing is or how bad multiclassing is, because I haven't actually tested it yet, I haven't played the test server, I'm just going to wait for it to come to live client today to try it. But regardless of how it ends up being, I think personally I still would have preferred a talent tree. Because truthfully, the thing is, like I love fighter as a class, right? Like, fighter is my favorite class. There are some aspects about other classes I like. However, I do have the belief that, if I take four perks from fight, if I take four perks that aren't native to fighter and two skills that aren't native to fighter, like, what is it about fighter that I'm even playing for at that point anymore? Because my class identity is basically gone, and with multiclassing, effectively, you're gonna have to, you're not gonna have a class identity anymore. None of the all the classes, I mean, all they're really gonna be is like, oh, I have base stats, right? Like these are my base stats are my class identity. My perks and my skills aren't really that anymore. Because generally what you're going to do is you're going to replace your perks and skills to make your class even better. Like, on Fighter, there's the chance that I don't use, I'll probably use one of the perks that Fighter has innately to it. Three of them are probably going to be four, and I might use like one of the two skills. Maybe I'll use both, I don't know. But for the most part, I feel like what always made the classes so special was classes had their inherent strengths and weaknesses, and part of learning a class and getting really good on it was learning to overcome the weaknesses of the class. For example, let's say fighter's weakness is inherently magic damage. Like, one of the big parts of learning fighter and becoming a good fighter is learning how to overcome your weakness to wizards, warlocks, and that type of thing. Or learning how to get really good with a shield to maximize efficiency of your shield perks, like shield mastery, counterattack, and those. Or, let's say you're a longsword fighter, like, learning how to use a longsword effectively. Like, whenever, I'm not a longsword fighter myself. However, all those people that have put in, like, hundreds of hours playing only longsword, whenever they get really good, they can hit those crazy, like, 180 parries consistently on people, or, relatively consistently as you can be. As consistently as you can be, like, that feels like you're getting good on the class, right? And you're doing that with use of the class perks, not with use of anything outside. And I feel very strongly, like I said, I don't know if multiclass is going to be good. I don't know if it's going to be bad. I just feel that it's going to take something away from the game inherently that I think is very, very good about the game and something I love about the game. The classes having their own unique identity, in my mind, was one of the best aspects to this game. Seeing a class and knowing relatively what the class is capable of, that's fun to me, right? It's the same as, let's say, like, in any game where you pick a DPS character, there are some things about that character that you just know are going to be true, right? Or a tank, or a healer, or a support class. So there are some things about that character that you just know are going to be true. Like support characters, they're going to provide help to their team in form of healing, buffs, something like that. Like, just something along the lines of it's a support character. Tank, they're going to be taking damage, usually going to be like the bigger class in the front line, that type of thing. DPS class, obviously, they're doing damage. Like, they're generally squishier, but they have much higher damage compared to support or tank classes. Now, however, like with multi-classing moving forward, that won't be the case for this game anymore. Even within the classes, they had separate builds. Like, if you saw a fighter that was full light armor, dual wielding, like, oh, it's a Slayer fighter, I know what to expect from him. Oh, you saw plate armor, sword and shield, the crossbow. Oh, I know that's a PDR fighter. I know what to expect from him. Longsword, know what to expect from him. You see a barbarian that's running like horseman's axe, or felling axe or whatever, and you see he's wearing lighter armor. Oh, I know what to expect from him. Heavy armor, I know what to expect from him. A cleric running like smite or something, I know what to expect from the cleric. I know like what type of cleric build that is. But now it's just gonna be like, oh, I look at this rogue that has spear mastery, crossbow mastery, like what else, like axe specialization, weapon mastery. Like, what is this guy doing, right? And he's running Divine Protection Savage Roar on a rogue, and it's like, is that like that's not even like is that even a rogue anymore? Like, no, it's just the character that has rogue base stats with perks from all the other classes. Like, he's more of a barbarian than he is a rogue at that point. And this is going to be the case for everyone. For now, when you load in, you're going to have to inspect every single character. Like, this is just because, if you guys remember, they talked about removing lobby and removing the pregame. If they do that while keeping multiclassing, if you see a character, you're not going to have a clue what they're capable of. You won't have any idea, and you can't possibly know. Even without them removing pre-lobby, let's say there's a full lobby, there's 4 other teams, that's 12 other players, or however many you're in, I think it's like 15 or something. But let's just say there's 12 other players. You have to inspect all 12 players to see what they're running, and then you have to remember what all 12 players are running so you don't get caught off guard by something ridiculous. Right? Like, if there's a ranger with ambush, reckless strike, you need to know that's in the game. Like, that is important information. That is literally life and death information for, your character. If you don't know that, you walk at him, or, you, like, aren't really paying attention all the time, you're not completely on guard, you get fucking headshot, dead, boom, one shot, instantly. And that's going to be the case for a lot of other things. Like, if you don't see the fact that the barbarian has hide and creep or whatever else whatever else they might be running, or double jump or any of that stuff. Think all the areas on the map that rogues can get to, or like a ranger can get to with backstep. Now imagine like a barbarian's up there and he drops on your head with a war maul. Like, these are things you just have to know that are in the game. And I think this is going to be one of the biggest problems with multiclassing. Multiclassing, in my mind, it's going to be really, really fun initially, but give it, a couple weeks, maybe even a month if it's still in the game at that point, and it's going to become such a chore. Because it's going to be like, okay, I load in, all right, guys, split up. We have to see what every single person in the lobby's running. God forbid you are the last to load into a full lobby. You are going to have to walk around on pins and needles, terrified of what could potentially be in your game. And yeah, eventually there's going to be a meta that's going to set in for the most part. Like, okay, well, I see a barbarian. He's probably running, like double jump, hide, crossbow mastery, something stupid like that, right? Just something random. Like, okay, this is the meta. Obviously not saying that will be, because I can guarantee it won't. But, like, most of the time you're going to see a character and you're going to expect, like, some things they're running. Oh, a fighter, he's probably running defense mastery, robust, iron will, anti-magic, something like that. You have a general idea. But there are going to be those times where you run into something that you just could not possibly expect, and if you didn't inspect them, you just die to it, guaranteed. So then it's gonna get to the point of, I have to check every single person before the game starts, and if I don't, then I just can never fight somebody because I have no idea what they're capable of. And I think this is exemplified. God, what the? I think this is. I'm not even gonna try to say that. I don't even know what I was going for. I'm pretty sure I know what I was going for, but whatever. I think this is shown even better in spells. Because the thing is, you can look at somebody and you can see, oh, I have defense mastery, swift, shield mastery, sword mastery, sprint, second wind. However, you look at a cleric, all you see spell memory. You don't know what spells are on that spell memory. You got no clue. So you could run at a cleric and he could drop a Hydra on you. He could chain lightning your team. He could, play peacemaking. I guess if he has instruments, you're going to know his bard songs, but still. You have no clue what that guy's running. Wizards the same way. Warlocks the same way. Anybody else could be the same way. Like, I could put spell memory on my fighter if I wanted to, and you'd have no clue what I'm running. And that's a really big problem. Because, wizards are already hard enough to deal with them having 10 spell because you don't know what they're going to cast. But now you have to worry about wizards having, cleric spells or warlocks having wizard cleric spells. Like, imagine you kill a cleric, you back off, and then a wizard reses his cleric because he's running res on his 10 spell. Like, how could you have known that? I mean, if you hear the res, yeah, maybe, but other than that, you have no way of knowing. Same for any other spellcaster in the game. Same for any other character in the game. Like, I could take spell memory on my fighter, take resurrection, and put on res, and run a spell book with res if I want to. With weapon mastery, or if you even need that, I'm not even sure. But it's gonna take the game to a point where you literally have to be paranoid about every possible possibility, and I just don't think that's going to be very fun. Like I said, I think it'll be novel at best at the start, where it's like, oh, look at all these new things we're doing, this is cool. But then, like I said, after a few weeks or a month, it's going to get really, really bad, and it's going to be really, really tedious to the point where it's just not fun anymore. And this brings me to what I was talking about originally at the start of the video. I think there are better things that could have been done. I think getting a talent tree or subclasses or something along those lines that fleshes out the character and makes the character more of themselves would have been significantly more fun. Because if you look at a lot of characters right now, a lot of characters have multiple different build paths or multiple different build styles. Let's take Fighter, for example. Fighter has, like Slayer or Sword and Shield style, which is, that's two very, very different build paths. Like Slayer is obviously like, light armor, moving around fast, doing a lot of damage. PDR Fighter is generally the other side. I'm not as fast, but I'm much tankier. I'm a better frontline for my team. And if we had got things like subclasses, then maybe you can, after you get to like level 30 or whatever it is, instead of having this, you spec into I have a guardian tree, or I have like a swordsman tree. Thing like New World, basically, right? New World skill trees are exactly what I envisioned for this game, where it's like I have, my guardian tree that has I have a lot of frontline perks, I protect my team, I tank damage, or I have the swordsman tree where I'm not like, I'm not a frontline or anything, but I have a ton of damage. I'm more like a barbarian style character. Then like every character in the game could be built like that. Ranger has like maybe like a spear fighter class, or the trap master bow class. Rogue the same way. The poison build where you have a bunch of different poisons that do all types of different things, or you have like a assassin build where you pop out a stealth, you one shot people, and all that. Think the casters could have different schools of magic. Wizard could have ice magic, fire magic, lightning magic, all these other things. Warlock, I could be based around like summoning demons and all this type of stuff, or I could be based around using like blood magic. Like, so many different things could have been done for these characters. And then, there are characters that have very, very clear playstyles, like Cleric. Cleric with like Smite Divine Protection. Like, that's literally just a paladin, man. Like, you run Smite Divine Protection, you're not a healer anymore, you're just a paladin. They had a free paladin class set up right there for them. And I think this is something that's going to happen later on in the future when they add new classes that are similar to old ones. Because they want to add Sorcerer, they want to add Paladin. Like, how are you going to make those classes significantly different from the classes we already have? Like, how is Sorcerer going to feel super different from Wizard in the sense of, I'm just casting more spells? Because they said, like, they'd be casting bigger spells, but really, like, what does that even mean? Like, I mean, there's a limit to the scale of a spell that you can make while still making this game, while still being even remotely, close to being, like, fair and balanced in the game and fun to play. Because most of the time, the fights take place in very small, closed-in corridors. You can't cast a giant explosion in a tiny little corridor. That's just not realistic. But, yeah. Like, I personally would have much preferred, like, a talent tree or a subclass of some sort. Like I said, that makes the characters feel more like themselves. Because I love Fighter. I want to keep playing Fighter. I don't want to have to play Barbarian, Warlock, Cleric Fighter, because I have to take all their perks to continue, because that's what it's going to be. People are like, oh, why are you complaining? Like, you could just keep your inherent perks and skills and play the class you want to play. Yes, but then it's going to get to the point with multiclassing, and this is very obvious to anyone that knows, that if you want to win and you want to be, successful and competitive at a high level, HR games, demigod level, like winning games and killing people, then you really can't just, sometimes you have to make steps to continue doing that. If I stay playing Fighter with all my default perks and skills, I'm just going to be a liability to my team because my character's just useless. We have these other fighters that are running, anti-magic Iron Will, Perseverance, that are never dying and not taking any damage, and here I am with Shield Mastery, Sword Mastery. Like, why, like, I can't really do that. But, yeah, this has been a shorter video for a little yap session than I'm sure you guys are used to, but I don't really have a ton to talk about on the matter because obviously this is kind of like a what could have been type situation. I will talk more about multiclassing after it's been out for a while, just to see if, maybe I was right, maybe I was wrong, really just to see, what it's like. And I'll probably have a podcast with, Sebastian and Pashi relatively soon, because I think this is big enough to definitely have one. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching, and as always, feel free to leave your, comments and opinions down below. I will read them and respond to some of them, maybe all of them, who knows. But, yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.